Welcome everyone, Farmer Cop here. This is going to be another round of fact sheets for the Plains and Prairies pack, which by the way, if you own the Season's Pass, whether you're on Xbox, PlayStation, or PC, this is included. I have heard there was issues, I believe it was on Xbox, where it showed you didn't own it and would let you pre-order, even though it shouldn't if you owned the Season's Pass already. So you can ignore that if it's still doing that. I believe it's fixed now, but if not, it is included and you don't own it, so you don't have to worry about that. But anyhow, yes, if you would like to pre-order it for PC, you can use the link down below in the description or code FarmerCop at checkout, and that does go to help support the channel. But regardless of that, let's go ahead and jump into the fact sheets for today. So, and you can also still order the Season's Pass too if you want to get all the DLCs. Season's Pass will come with the 3 DLCs in year 1 and the expansion at the end of this year. So, yeah. All right, so got a nice picture of a Ford, the Ford Versatile 1156. Got a lovely fact sheet here. This is again, Ford tractor. It's $171,500 to buy, 470 horsepower, so decent amount of horsepower. Manual transmission, holds 1,500 liters of fuel, and will drive at 12 kilometers per hour or 12 miles per hour. And it weighs a whopping 11.6 tons. So quite a heavy piece of equipment here, but makes sense. It's a big old hunk of metal and equipment there. So pretty cool. I don't know. I believe that's just one of the base game cultivators that it's towing. I don't think there's anything special about that, but still pretty nice to get a little bit more information. We got information last week, I believe, about, well, it was about one of the Fords as well, didn't we? Let me look here. Nope, not this one. Yeah, we got information about this guy last week. Sorry, just going over the Ford 976 Versatile. So we've got now info on both the Fords coming in the pack, which is pretty nice. Moving on, we got a lovely screenshot here of the Versatile 365 and one of the GEA setups there, which that's got some manure obviously coming out the back. Nice manure spreader over there. Honestly, I feel like the screenshots they send over are normally a little higher quality, but maybe not. Maybe that's just me imagining that. I also did zoom in crazy far. They don't look that bad, really. But, I mean, they look fine. Don't get me wrong. But here's the fact sheet here. So we have it's the 365 horsepower edition, I believe is what that means there on the side. But this is the Versatile MFWD, which is a tractor. $259,500 starting price to buy. You can get the horsepower between 300 and 400 horsepower on it, so quite a bit of horsepower on there if you'd like to. How much did that Ford? The Ford had, what was it? 470. Okay, 470. Sorry, I thought it was 370 for a second. So not as much as the Ford, but obviously, I mean, it's a smaller tractor, so that makes sense. Power shift transmission holds 613 liters of fuel, and it will drive at 40 kilometers per hour or 24 miles per hour and weighs 15.4 tons. Wait a second, how much did the Ford weigh? 11.6, so it weighs more than the Ford. That's kind of surprising, actually. Yeah, that's a bit of a shocker for me. But anyhow, pretty cool setup there. Then we have the GEA, and then all the GEA names are kind of ridiculous. But this is the EL48-8D-7900, in case you're wondering. Requires 350 horsepower, which is actually quite a bit. But of course, it works well with this setup here. So I'm assuming with that 365, like I said, I think that's a 365 horsepower configuration, but I could be wrong. This is a slurry tanker, of course, $125,000 starting price. I don't know if there's any options or customizations. I'd assume maybe like tires and stuff like that. It will run at 16 kilometers per hour or 9 miles per hour. And I'm assuming if you do the double application, it should do a double application if you want to, where you put 2 layers down at the same time. It should run then at about 4.5 miles per hour or 8 kilometers per hour if that's the case there for that. It will hold 35,900 liters of either, well, slurry or digestate. It's got the fill types here. Weighs 11.8 tons, so it weighs... I'm not going to refer back to that Ford again, but I think it weighs around the same as that Ford tractor, which is kind of funny. And I'm assuming that's unloaded as well. It has a 16-meter working width, so pretty cool. Next up here, this is pretty cool. We're not going to... The John Deere is a base game John Deere. I believe that's a... What is that, a 7R? Or an 8? That looks like an 8R. I think that's a John Deere 8R up there. But anyhow, this is the Vaderstad planter that we're kind of focusing on. I was kind of bummed that this pack didn't have more like large equipment to tow. I mean, it has some big seeders and planters and stuff like that, but not a crazy amount of stuff. I think kind of the big part of it is that it's adding Ford, which I know has been on PC before, and we've had Lizard branded stuff that looks like Ford on console, but it's nice to actually have the Ford brand on console, so that's pretty cool. But anyhow, this is the Vaderstad Tempo K24. It's a planter, $290,000 to buy, so quite expensive. It requires 365 horsepower or 268 kilowatts. It will run at 20 kilometers per hour or 12 miles per hour, which is pretty fast. Holds 11,000 liters, and I'm assuming that's, seed and liquid fertilizer. I don't know what the denominations are of that, whether it's, about half and half. Usually it's a little bit more fertilizer than seed, so my guess would be about probably 3,000 to 4,000 liters of seed, and then the rest in fertilizer. So, yeah, which would be, what is that? math is hard. That'd be 7,000 to 8,000 liters in fertilizer, if my math is correct. Weighs 19.5 tons, has 18-meter working width, so definitely a good working width on this bad boy here. There are a couple, there's like an 18, I believe the Kinsey Blue Drive is like 18.4 meters, so this one's a touch smaller than that. But it's probably around the same price, actually. Obviously does seeds and then liquid fertilizer, which again, I already kind of mentioned that, but liquid fertilizer is definitely unique. I feel like most planters and stuff, well, I guess the Kinsey Blue Drive takes liquid fertilizer as well. I feel like more often than not with seeders and planters, we see it take solid fertilizer. And obviously this is going to plant your basic planter crops, which is going to be corn, sorghum, sunflowers, soybeans, sugar beets, cotton, and green beans. Yeah, green beans. Yep, that's one of the new crops. I just don't really do green beans. Do you guys do green beans? Let me know down in the comments. But anyhow, moving on. This in the background is the John Deere X9, so nothing new there. We're focused on the Brandt up here is what we're going to be focused on. We also have it being pulled by a case. I'm assuming this is one of the new quad tracks up there. Is that the 715 quad track? Is that what that is? But anyhow, ridiculous amount of horsepower on that quad track up there. This guy is the Brandt 2500 DXT. Is an auger wagon, $171,500 to buy. It weighs 17.7 tons, requires 500 horsepower, which explains why they got a big old beefy tractor up there. Or 368 kilowatts. But yep. And I should say as well, I said freedom units. I believe it was in my last video, and someone said more like freedom units, as in DUMB, which is hilarious, by the way, because yes, most of the freedom units or the units used in the US don't make any logical sense compared to like the EU, which I will openly admit, but I don't understand the EU units as much as I do the US ones. That's what I grew up around. But anyhow, this will hold 88,000 liters, which is quite a bit, quite a large auger. I mean, you can see the quad track. If we go back to this photo over here, the quad track, that's a massive tractor in game. And this thing is bigger than that tractor. I mean, look at it compared even just to the X9. I think that's why they use such big equipment, is just to show how massive this thing really is. It is a massive piece of equipment, which, I mean, yes, obviously there's like the mother bins that can hold like a crazy amount that you park next to the field, but this is a pretty big one for tow behind there. And again, it'll hold your kind of basic farm crops, which is wheat, barley, oats, canola, sorghum, sunflower, soybeans, corn, and long grain rice, not wet rice. And it also holds seeds and solid fertilizer if you'd like it to, so you can use that as well for those. I feel like that's not as useful as the other things it can do, but still pretty cool. Yeah, so pretty cool. We got some of these. And again, if you wanted a little reminder of kind of what we got last week, I know I kind of already showed it off. Last week, we got some information on this guy right here, which is the Salford. The Kloss is already in the game there, but this is the Salford disc harrow there. We went over that one last week. And then, of course, we got the Ford, and then the Salford. This is a fertilizer spreader, solid fertilizer spreader, yeah, which is a air boom applicator. There we go. And then, obviously, the Ford 976 Versatile, which is pretty cool. Then we also got a picture of this guy with one of the GEA. Again, the GEA have ridiculous names. It's the EL4860 4800. It's a little smaller than the one we looked at this week. And the Versatile Nemesis, which is a pretty cool tractor there. But anyhow, that is what I have for you guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, please drop a like down below. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button up on the screen to join the Farmer Cop channel and turn your notification bell so you don't miss any future videos I may post. This has been Farmer Cop. Thank you guys for coming and watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.